Houston was in a scenario where they could have grabbed the 2 spot, maybe the 3. They end up falling to 4 as they lost to Oklahoma City late in the season. And that allowed Portland to capture this 3 seed. And on Gomez, hey, look at him dance. He doesn't do the dance in the middle.
You can't not be happy when you see that.
Happier times, simpler times. Although now I'm sad thinking about the rest of that timeline. But no, it's a happy show. It's a happy Tuesday edition of the DNBA Show. I'm your host, Brendan Vogt. I'm joined above me is usually the host. Tonight he's a co-pilot. It's Adam Matas. Adam, what's up, man?
Living my best, man. Excited to be talking about the Portland Trailblazers?
Yeah, it should be a fun show. I like the Mile High City fraud shirt, though. Could be particularly relevant this year when the Nuggets win a fraudulent title,
Fraud
right?
City, baby.
Let's go.
Title.
To Adam's left, the man, the myth, the legend, it's Harrison Wind. What's up, brother?
The most underrated part of that play we just rolled, the Mason Plumlee pass is incredible.
Incredible.
And everybody talks about the shimmy, not enough people talk about the pass.
It's such a win take, because the shimmy is absolutely
Yeah,
the
like,
takeaway and the highlight. Not focused on Mason Plumlee's passing really ever at all.
No.
It's Eric Weedham, also known as
As little
D-Line
as little as possible, to be perfectly frank. But, you know, when it comes together like that, gives us a shimmy. Like, I guess we got to give credit where credit is due. And, of course, that goes to the shimmy and the shot, not the pass at all.
So if we're going to talk about Portland, and we're going to try to do this objectively instead of just getting a bunch of haters together, we should probably bring in a special guest.
Yeah.
And we've got a good one lined up tonight. So let's bring him in and welcome onto the show now. Bleacher Report, Sean Highkin. Sean, how the heck are you, man? What's going
Doing
on?
okay.
There he
You know,
is.
considering everything going on in
Yes.
the world right now, I could be doing a lot worse.
Well, we're happy to hear it, man. And we're happy to have you. And quarantine has not claimed your sanity then.
It's tried.
I was going to say, let's find out. Let's see how this
It's
interview
tried.
goes.
I mean, now it's starting to look now like there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel where at least who knows if it's going to be successful or not. But at least there are dates now for when the NBA is going to come back, so we can at least see a little bit of, okay, this is now some time we have to look forward to.
I was going to say, Sean also looks like he's a little bit like he could be set in the movie The Shining, just a little bit. So I'm not ready to declare that his sanity has not completely gone. I need to see how this goes.
It is good to have some days to have something to talk about, though. We've really, I don't want to say struggled, but it hasn't been easy as content creators. How has this time been for you, man, in terms of trying to find stuff to think about, write about, and have you been able to do that, all things considered?
Well, I think the thing that's good about Bleacher Report is that they're all focused on the app, and so you always have to have stuff that goes in the app, and so they spent a whole so it's not like the flow of content slows down. It's just you have to get a little bit more creative with it if you're not going to games and talking to players and having the opportunity to do new stuff like that. But for the first couple of months of quarantine, which, God, this feels like years ago at this point, but the first couple of months, they did a whole series of redrafting all the different drafts, and so I helped out with that. And then it became kind of weird because I have some stuff I'm working on that are like some features that I had been working on before the season shut down, and now it's like, some of this stuff, it's the kind of thing where there's one in particular that I'm working on that I think is going to be out now towards the end of the month, that I had been, since November or December or something, I had been trying to get different guys as they came through town that were relevant to it. But then when the season shut down, there was still a half dozen guys that I still needed to get for it. And so it was
brutal.
And so then it became, I would start emailing their agents, and, I'd go back and forth with them, and a lot of them would say either, they would either say no, or they would say, let's revisit it when the pandemic is over. We'll see what happens. And then this week, my editors said that they actually want this story later this month. And so then I have to circle back with all those guys while there's these huge civil rights protests going on right now, by the way, when I don't feel great about emailing agents and player reps and publicists being like, hey, I know there's this like huge this huge social justice movement going on, but you want to talk about this thing from years ago, like so that's been a little bit of a challenge, but we're starting to see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel.
No one? All right, I'll keep going.
Come on.
Well, we did get some news today, Sean. Tim Bontemps tweeted out that Hawks general manager Travis Schlenk said on a conference call with reporters this morning that the NBA has indicated to the league's GMs that next year's schedule could be condensed in order to try to keep the league as close to its usual timeline as possible. Makes a lot of sense to me. That was always my sort of concern with the further things get backed up. How do you get back on track? Sean, what's just sort of your general reaction to this tweet, this news?
Well, I'm not surprised that they're doing that because I know that it's become kind of a popular thing in NBA fan and media circles to say, well, why don't they just start the season on Christmas or start the season in December and then go into July so that they don't have to compete with the NFL? But from what I've heard and from players and people that I've talked to, that idea is not going to be popular with the players because a lot of the players have kids and have families and they want to have those summer months.
They don't want to F up their summers.
Yeah, exactly. They want to take their families on vacations and be around their kids and stuff and not have to be doing that when it's nice out or not have to be playing games. And so I think the NBA has kind of accepted that, and they obviously this upcoming season is kind of a special case where they're going to have to start the season in December just because of the pandemic delaying everything. But I think ultimately, long term, they really want to get back kind of on the normal schedule. I don't know how this is going to look because in order to play 82 games from in 6 fewer weeks, you're basically going to it's going to have to be like a lockout seasons where you're going to have like back-to-back-to-backs or
so horrible.
4 games in 5 nights. All the stuff that they've tried to get away from over the last
injuries.
Yeah, all the stuff they've tried to get away from in the last 5 years or so because of player safety and because of trying to keep guys fresh so that guys don't take games off. You think the load management stuff is bad now. If they're on back-to-back-to-back, do you think Kawhi Leonard is only playing 1 out of 3 of those games? Like, I don't know if that's really going to be good. But, I mean, that what they should do is they should just prorate the length of the season and start in December and play however many games you would have to play kind of a normal schedule. But they won't do that because they can't give up that much TV revenue, considering that by December, I don't think they're still going to be in a place, unless some miracle happens and they have a vaccine by then, I still don't think they're going to be in a place where they're going to be able to let fans back in the arena. So that's still some revenue that the owners aren't going to be able to make up. And so I don't see how they would be able to cut, a number of games from the schedule just because of the revenue that they then have to make up for the TV. So it seems like that's kind of a financial decision. But
do you see them cutting like 5 games off the schedule? I mean, can we get down to 70? I know 70 was the big number for the local TV contracts. Could they try to aim for like 70 or 72 games?
That's what I would. To me, 72 is the number because then, as far as long term, because to me, that means basically I did the math a while ago. Basically, what that would mean is you play your conference 3 times, you play the other conference twice, and everything is just kind of evened out. That's to me that's the number. But I don't think that permanently that's really going to fly on either side because the owners aren't going to want to give up the gate revenue or the TV revenue, and the players aren't going to want to get paid less money if they're playing less games. So I just don't see how that's going to happen long term on either side.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to stop the players from complaining, though, about a condensed season or injuries.
I know.
I was going to ask,
the flip side of this.
Can we take a vote to see if we want to work during the summer or not? Because I don't want to. Can we vote about that?
I don't want to either, but I do want the NBA to exist in its own space. And I really hate that, especially here in Denver. The Nuggets don't really start till January. And I just hate that. That's half the season. It's already gone. So for that one selfish reason. The other selfish reason, we were talking a little bit before this, Denver, nobody wants to come to Denver. It's always been this way for 50-something years now. Nobody's wanted to come to Denver. But if it was in the summer, if the league started in January and ended in late July or August, Denver would be a hot commodity. Those are the best Denver months.
Yeah.
Denver's glorious at those times.
And when Denver's on national TV, what's being shown in the lead into games? It's
snow.
People skiing on Aspen, in Breckenridge or something.
And every single time the media comes to town, it snows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had our top NFL draft pick convinced that he was moving to a place that was at the top of a mountain where bears lived outside. He had to get a cabin.
Everybody lives in cabins and there's bears all around.
It's not great PR for the state.
I've always wondered how much of a factor this could possibly be for players who are quite busy during the season and can really be wherever they want to be during the off season. I've kind of always found it funny, what a factor it is where their home base is, but maybe I'm naive to something here.
I mean, yeah, you're really
I think
talking
you're
about they're
right.
there for 40
yeah.
games, right? I mean,
It's still a lot, though. And I think there is something, too. Like, we were talking before about Phoenix. Like, Phoenix, Miami. I remember LeBron taking pictures during the season of him hanging out at the pool. And I'd be watching this from Denver where it's like 10 degrees, and I'd be like, oh, man, that looks really nice.
Yeah, that's true.
I imagine a 6-game road trip, ending it and coming home and going for a swim is quite lovely.
That's
Yeah, it's
part of
still
why
not
guys
gonna-
don't go to New York or Chicago, even though those are big markets.
Right.
The
Yeah,
weather,
that's
like
true.
it's LA, it's Miami.
So would Chicago be the big winner from a change season?
Oh, you're right. It would be.
It would have to be, right? Summers in
Well,
Chicago are lit. Man.
Well, they are, but you're still starting in December and January, which are the worst months of the year for weather-wise.
You're
When's
focused
the
on
best-
basketball at those months.
When's the best time to be in Portland, by the way, Sean?
Portland is the most unpredictable, just all over the place weather city. I've seen it like right now. It's early to mid-June. It was raining today. I've seen it pour in July. I've seen it be 90 in January. There have been years where the one time in the year that it snows in like March or April.
I'm sorry, Sean, but the correct answer was never. I'm sorry. As David East has pointed out,
I disagree with it. I used to spend my summers in Portland. I find it to be a very delightful city.
I'm pretty convinced that the best week of Portland weather ever was the second round of the Western Conference
gonna
playoffs
say-
last year.
It was
The
gorgeous.
three of us had some good times during that.
That was
series.
incredible weather.
Yeah.
last year.
so
Incredible.
perfect, so nice out.
You guys
Clear
picked the
skies.
exact right time to come here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Way to go,
Well,
guys.
sort of.
Yeah,
Way to pick them. How'd you pick it?
Yes and no. Let's keep it moving here. We had another tweet from Keith Smith, NBA, friend of the program. For those NBA folks who are stats and data inclined, I'm told that the plans are to install the various player tracking systems at the game venues at Walt Disney World. Teams should have full access to all the data they would normally get from NBA arenas for the games at Disney. Adam, for someone who is not stats and data inclined,
Is this
why
like
does
the
this-
second spectrum, guys?
Yes. And I think, like the whatever used to be called Sport View. I don't know if it's changed to whatever, but so now we'll get all the player tracking stuff on NBA.com.
Why does this matter? Why does this matter to teams and to
I
media
should say more
members?
importantly, the teams get it. I don't think they're doing it for the fans as much as I would
Right.
like to, say. They're doing it for the teams to collect the information. But I think it is. Think about this. So much of like how you analyze your own team and even just as a fan being able to dig into this stuff, missing an entire postseason of information, I think would be quite a drag. So is it like super pertinent? Like, is this like a big is it important? No. But I'm really glad it exists. It would have been unfortunate to have a whole playoff run where we're like, yeah, we just, we actually don't have data for that 1 year, like we do for all the others.
I legitimately
I
thought-
remember there was I think there was a Nuggets preseason game where the stats just stopped working. It might have been at the beginning of this year or last year when the NBA was putting in like a new box score type system.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, it's like a preseason game, whatever. Like, we don't really need the stats. The Nuggets coaches were freaking out. like the Nuggets people were flipping, like they're going crazy because they didn't have a box score for a meaningless preseason game.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought when you brought that up, this was a way to, this was like COVID related. We needed to track the players to make sure that they were staying inside of the bubble.
I think that's just going to be kind of an honor system, and we'll see how guys do. I mean, we did see the reports yesterday that if a player leaves the bubble, they have to quarantine for 10 days once they come back in. So I think that might be, and what I want to know is if a player misses time due to having to be quarantined, do they still get paid for that time?
I think they have to. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
the
that
NBA
would seem.
pull
Yeah,
the
I don't
money
think you
for
could
the
be
person who's
punitive
sick.
about an illness.
You'd
Yeah,
probably
I don't
have to
know.
treat it like an injury.
Well, what if
Also,
somebody
how could
doesn't
you
actually test positive for COVID? What if they just leave the bubble and then come back and have to quarantine?
Man, that's a good
Maybe that's
question.
why this player tracking system is
That's
important.
what they needed. Yeah, they have those wristbands already. Keith Smith will tell us the whole thing. Like, you can go all around the park with them.
Oh,
you get
yeah,
into
you
certain
just
rides.
scan in.
You just have to. Yeah, you have to wear it everywhere. Player tracking, very simple.
Are they
Well-
just like repurposing those wristbands where? Because I haven't been to Disney World, but I have been to a couple of music festivals where the wristbands have like a chip in them.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
just pay, and you attach your credit card to them, and you just
yeah.
you pay for all the stuff with
dude.
your.
Disney has a whole thing. There's like a mouse head on it. It's a whole thing, Sean.
It's
Don't
a whole
worry.
thing, huh?
You'll find
Okay.
out all about it through the NBA playoffs.
We'll see how. Yeah, we'll see if I end up out there.
I've got another update. It's been weeks, plural, maybe even a month since I've rolled my eyes at the Houston Rockets, but good news. Daryl Morey, apropos of nothing, on the Anthony Pompliano Pomp podcast, took to defending James Harden, saying, quote, he's not someone who's going to be a big media guy or things like that, and I think it hurts him a little bit. But I can tell you privately, he's like a basketball genius. He's a great quality human being. We've worked together for 8 or 9 years now. I couldn't have a better partner to try and win a title. And in fact, most days I wake up saying I've let him down because I haven't gotten him the right players to win a title.
Wow.
How many times do you think?
Technically, they did win a title. If you look at the expected shot value of all the times that they, all the times that a foul wasn't called in the Warriors series, like technically, if you look at all that, technically they actually did win a title.
Okay,
well, congratulations
true
to
championships is actually 2. So yeah.
Adam, what's the real number of times that Daryl Morey has woke up and thought that to himself?
This is the easiest question he'll ask me ever. 0. Yes.
0.
This is such a great, like, we all know GMs that say this stuff. One of my favorites is, he's a great basketball player, but he's an even better human. Like, they just have these lines that they say, and I wake up all the time thinking I've let him down. Erroneous. He does not.
You're just like Daryl, just like staring out the window on a rainy day, just hands in his pockets.
I have just let James Harden down.
I've wronged him again.
If there's ever a GM that like makes moves, it's Daryl Morey. He just
I know.
He's trying.
Moves.
It's just
Yeah, I've heard him say this before.
I like to envision Daryl Morey just has a list on his fridge of just like superstars in the league and just crosses them off as he tries to get them to Houston.
The
Chris Paul, boom. Russell Westbrook,
Dwight
boom.
Howard.
Yeah, Dwight Howard.
Back in the day.
But he starts the list over every single day, just from the top.
Just to make sure he's not forgetting anybody.
Yeah.
In Houston Rockets, James Harden PR machine. Win, take us into a break, brother.
Yeah, guys, we've got DraftKings here. Golf is back.
Yes,
that's right. We have a full weekend of golf ahead of us. Not talking about Adam's comeback in
that's
real
what we
golf.
were talking about.
Big golf guy.
No, not
Big
talking
golf guy,
about
Adam.
that.
Can't wait.
To add to the excitement, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you in the center of the action with sign-up bonuses up to $1,000.
I love when Wind reads the copy, just like reads it.
This is the
He's certainly not going to memorize it.
this is the June 8th copy.
Okay, all right.
It's brand new, man.
Selling the hell out of it.
Yeah.
For real, wow.
But it doesn't get any closer to a major than this with all the heavy hitters taking the course, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the place to get all of your bets in for this weekend's tournament.
10-1.
Are we live tweeting this one again like we did the Tiger and Phil? We should. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was an adrenaline rush.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to be live betting on it, so I'll probably be. You'll get my anguish and my adulation
can't
all
wait.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be really weird when Eric amasses a gambling fortune. I'm already like, it doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. Well, what I loved about DraftKings and that Tom Brady, Phil Mickelson, Tiger, and Peyton foursome was you can bet hole by hole. Like you could bet, will Tom Brady hit the fairway on this hole?
That's
Yeah.
the only way to bet. You can't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's too hard to focus for an entire.
That's how
18
I
holes. You have
amassed
to bet
my
one hole at a
fortune.
time.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure
One hole at a
DraftKings is going to
time,
have
baby.
that stuff back for regular golf starting this weekend as well. So that'll be pretty cool.
Ooh,
and
look at this. Drew Kreisman telling us you can bet on the MLB draft tomorrow. DNVR Rockies, by the way, live show.
Oh,
5
baby.
o'clock tomorrow. Tune in. It's
Drew.
gonna be awesome.
For the DNBA Show fans, you should just drop hints in the comments. It'll be like a member feature.
yeah.
Oh, look at this, my homie, my buddy. Shouts Dave.
Shouts
I want
to
to point
Dave.
out that
We're
Adam
both playing
hated golf like deeply before he downloaded a phone app.
That's correct. This is a true story.
He's going to hate it again after he tries to make
Yeah,
this
I know.
comeback, I have a feeling.
I'm telling you, I know I'm gonna be good. I can't explain it. I just know.
I hate how many GD segues there into Adam talking about he's going to be good at golf.
Can't wait.
Comes up every show. Makes
every
me
show.
crazy. I want to see this failure so badly. I can't. I can taste it.
It's a stone cold lock.
Oh my
It's a
god.
stone.
All right, let's get through this read. Okay?
Which read is this?
Again, the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app is also offering a sign-up bonus of the $1,000. All new users, make sure to use the code DNVR when you sign up. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus is comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires
It's
a
a
25
5-minute
times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also make sure to pick up some Mile High City Copper Lager from Breck Brew, from Davidson's. They have free pickup and delivery. Maybe not free delivery, but free pickup definitely.
The unofficial beer of the DNBA show.
And probably the NBA playoffs, at least for us.
All right, Sean. This is why we brought you on, man. The meat on the bone of today's
to listen
show.
to us argue during an ad read.
It's time to talk about the Portland Trailblazers, who figure to be right in the middle, right in the thick of things when it comes to these reseeding games, and of course a potential and probable play-in series, 3-game series, I guess you would call it.
They keep calling it a play-in tournament, but it's not a tournament if it's just two teams playing a best of 3 or whatever.
That's true. That's a good point.
Tournament's a
This
way
is a
more
good
exciting
point.
word than best of 3, though.
Sean, the first
Way
question
more
I
exciting
have...
phrase.
I guess you got to sell it.
The first question I have is given how Portland's season went, and that following the highs of last season, we know Portland was the lone no vote. We know Dame, of course, had that quote saying if he wasn't going to be able to go for a title, he wasn't interested in coming back. How is Portland motivated? Is that stuff sort of like, would I be taking that out of context to sort of interpret it that way?
I think what Dame was saying is that he didn't want to come back to play exhibition games.
Right.
Because I also think that was kind of an empty threat, because if you guys remember, like 2 days before they actually shut down the season, and they were still talking about maybe we're just going to play games in an empty arena with no fans, somebody asked LeBron about that, and LeBron said, "Oh no way am I going to play without fans." And then the next day he walked that back pretty hard, probably because Adam Silver called him and was like, "Okay, no,
Dude.
LeBron, you're going to play." So
Well, you're going to have to.
So Dame can say whatever he wants, but you know what? I do think the Blazers feel like they're going to be able to make a run, especially with the way that the format is set up, where you only have to be within 4 games of the 8 seed. Right now, they're 3.5 games back from Memphis for the 8 seed. They only have to stay within 4 games, so they basically just have to tread water, and then they can be in the play-in tournament. And a huge thing, and this is, I believe it was Bontemps that also reported this, was that because it's going to, if there's a tie in the standings, it's just going to be by winning percentage, and the Blazers technically, even though they're 0-4 on the season against New Orleans, so New Orleans you would think would have the tiebreaker against them, they're actually going to have a slightly better record, a slightly better winning percentage, because they have played 2 more games, and then they went 1-1 in those 2 games. So technically, if they finish with the same record as New Orleans, they will actually have a slightly better winning percentage, and so they actually technically have a tiebreaker over New Orleans, even though they shouldn't.
And I guess in theory, if you're talking about a team like this coming back, maybe closer to healthy with the top level talent that they have, this is probably the most compelling, from a parity standpoint, potential 8 seed, right? Like this is that round in the playoffs it goes chalk every time, but maybe from a fans can talk themselves into, or Portland can talk themselves into a competitive first round.
You can this year, though. I'm just going to say you're right that most of the times this scenario, Laker team that advanced, whatever. But this year, I mean, come on. I can talk myself into every scenario.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Of course.
Well, usually when you're the 8 seed, you're like, oh, would I rather get into the lottery or get swept in the first round? But this year, it's an easy choice. You'd much rather go the first round.
Well, the lottery standings, I think, are frozen, right? From before.
True.
So they don't really have to. So they don't really have to worry about, we have to come in, but we can't win too many of the games because that's going to mess up. And also, just that's not how Dame is. If he's on the court, he's going to bring it. He's going to try to. And Dame has always been a guy where he loves being counted out. He loves being doubted. He thrives off that kind of stuff. And then the big thing with Portland, obviously, that is going to be the thing that everybody talks about, is they're going to be healthier now, because Nurkic was supposed to come back. The season ended.
You just got MJ'd.
Okay. You gave me. I just got that one, not the smirk. I didn't get the smirk or the tequila Jordan or the laughing. But okay. So the season shut down on March 11th. Nurkic was supposed to return that Sunday, March 15th, against the Rockets. That was the date that they had circled for a couple of weeks. They had made it official. That was the day that he was going to come back. So he was right about ready to go. And then Zach Collins, who has been out since 3 games into the season because of a shoulder injury that he had against Dallas, like right at the beginning of the year. He had surgery. They hadn't put a timetable on him, but I had been talking to him before the season got shut down. And he had been saying that he was hoping to be back by mid-March or early April and be ready to get back in time if they were to make the playoffs. And so you would have to think that with the season not starting until July, he'll be back. So that's 2 starters that the Blazers are going to have back. And that means there's there's less time that they're going to have to give to, let's say, Mario Hezonja or some of these other guys they have in the rotation.
LeBron
I
killer.
completely forgot about Carmelo for a second. My goodness.
The thing is, Melo's been good this year for the Blazers.
Yeah.
And it's rest for Dame, who has had to shoulder a lot this season.
Well, he had a groin injury a couple weeks before the shutdown, where he had just started to come back, and he had just started because he had that couple of weeks where he was just out of his mind. He was putting up 50 for like a week straight, and then he had a groin injury where he missed a couple of weeks around the All-Star break, and then he came back and he was just like he looked a little bit rusty, and he was just starting to look like himself again before the season got shut down. And so, for a guy like him, he plays so many minutes. He doesn't take games off, and I think this is going to be he's going to be as motivated as ever.
Yeah, this is shaping up great for Portland. I'm probably taking Portland to get this 8 seed because
I think I am too. It makes me crazy.
Like, they probably got the most talented roster out of all these teams vying for it. And I mean, I just kind of want to hitch my wagon to Dame too, if I'm just trying to get by in a kind of weird format where everything's thrown out of whack. I take Dame to captain my team over anybody else on those teams.
There's no question they're the most talented team left. I mean, they actually have players that have played in the playoffs that have went to the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if you guys remember, this happened last year. They were injured all year. Like, they just got really bad breaks. But obviously through karma, they deserved it. But maybe they can. They're obviously the best team left, and they're going to make it. And Sean, we just met. It just makes me crazy. What am I supposed to do?
I really just hate nerds. There's any other Blazers you really don't care for? I mean, it was
as I mentioned, I spent my summers in Portland when I was younger,
right.
and so I have a bunch of friends that live in Portland, and so I was in the rainy Rose City when we got bounced out of the playoffs the year before, and Nurkic told us to have a nice summer. I was in Portland. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to jump off of all of those bridges, and then I had to hide it from my friends to pretend that it wasn't eating me inside. And he called Jokic the Serbian slug, and I had no response. Made me want to kill myself. So it goes really deep with me, and I don't know that it can ever be healed. But Sean, I like you as a guy, so maybe I'll.
I appreciate that. I like you too. I have no idea how Nurk is going to look when he comes back, because he hasn't played in. At this point, because he had the leg injury in March of last year.
It was at the very end. Yep.
It's been in basketball shape. So
it's been 15 months now. It'll be 17 by the time the season starts. So who knows what he's going to look like? But having him, I don't know if he's going to start. He's going to come off the bench, but just having somebody besides Hassan Whiteside who is able to play center is going to be huge for them.
Who do you expect to be in that 9-8 spot, Sean, when the dust settles?
I'm going to lean towards Portland. I think I like Memphis' roster more overall. But Jaren Jackson had some injury stuff at the beginning of the year. You don't know how healthy he's going to be. They still haven't fully integrated Justice Winslow. So I think I'm just not going to bet against Dame. That's basically what it's going to come down to for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this is a playoff thing, then taking the best player of the teams competing is pretty good, sound logic.
I wonder how much value there is in chaos too, and just unfamiliarity, because these teams won't be able to do too much. I mean, I really think that the basketball is going to be somewhat simple because you can't put in a full package or whatever. But most teams know each other, and as you mentioned, 2 starters coming back. Portland is kind of a team you don't really have a lot of points of reference on, so data points on. So maybe teams are just if you're playing Portland in game 1 of this 8-game seeding round, you're like, okay, well, their team is pretty different from the last time we saw them, so I don't know what the scouting report is.
Well, the thing that's going to be huge, and they haven't put out the schedule yet, but if it's based loosely on the schedule for what was supposed to be the rest of the season with the teams that are still there, the Blazers had 2 games left against Memphis.
Yeah, that's huge.
Oh, wow. So they have to win both of those pretty much. But who knows what the health situation is going to be. But this whole tournament, you really have to throw any ability to predict anything out the window. This is going to be like the 99 season where they basically played a 3-month season, 50 games, and the Knicks made the finals as an 8 seed. You could tell me anything happens in this Orlando bubble, and it wouldn't shock me.
Who is the third most important Blazer player in this sort of the rest of the season / playoffs?
Honestly, and
It's a great question.
This is gonna be terrifying for Blazers fans, but it might be Hassan Whiteside. Which,
I'm taking Memphis.
yeah, that's fair.
I think I'm taking Phoenix.
Jeez.
Well, San Antonio we can throw out now that we just saw yesterday that LaMarcus is going to be
Well, they were
out.
I don't know if this is news to you. They were already going to be an 0-8 before that. So said Adam
I had a
Morris.
hot take. They're going 0-8. That's my prediction.
Oh.
It's possible.
Now it's much more possible, yeah.
Sean, when I think a lot of people watch teams get a taste of the team early on in the season, if it's not their favorite team, they form their impressions then, and then they keep it moving. I would imagine a lot of folks around the league kind of checked out on Portland, given the way things started. Health is obviously what everyone thinks of. Is that the full story? I mean, what went wrong in Portland? Can it be chalked up to just health, or were there fundamental issues here?
Well, I do think the roster, even before the injuries, because obviously Zach Collins and Rodney Hood having basically season-ending injuries early on in the year, that didn't help things. But I definitely think that they got worse in the offseason when they let go of Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless. They brought in Hassan Whiteside, which is a guy that Neil O'Shea has wanted since 2016 when he tried to sign him, and then he ended up staying in Miami. And Neil kind of has this thing where when he decides he wants a guy, he tries to get him years later.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There are so many different examples of either a guy he drafted.
Anthony.
You know what?
15 years ago, I really wanted him.
You know what? Melo was fine. Melo did exactly what they brought him in to do. He's been
The
good.
Melo defense is so funny. You're right. He was good. He was a lot better than I thought. But
He did exactly what they brought him in to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was better than signing some guy out of the G League, for sure.
Right. I get that that's a
Which was
personal
their
thing
other
for you
option.
guys because he was in Denver,
Yeah.
but
I don't
or
have
whatever.
anything
But
against Melo.
It's
Yeah,
really
I
just
like
for
Melo.
this guy. That's
Yeah.
No, it's
That's
not like
the whole.
Portland's-
That's the whole theme of the show. It's all about Nurkic. That's personal. Carmelo Anthony. That's personal. If you want objective opinions, you talk to those three.
But I guess it's not like Portland was thinking they solidified their big three with Melo, right? I mean, they had a roster spot.
No,
they
because
got
they
a guy.
literally. So Zach Collins goes down, and their other options at power forward were Mario Hezonja, who's not an NBA player, and Anthony Tolliver, who's like 1,000 years old, and Nasir Little, who's 19.
Right.
And so Melo, even the version of Melo that we saw in Houston and Oklahoma City the last couple of years, which was not good, even that version of Melo was an upgrade over what they already had as their options at power forward. And so they figured, hey, why not? And then he actually, the way it played out was about the best case scenario for how the Melo thing could have played out, because he came in, he was totally fine with Dame and CJ being the two main scorers and being the number 3 guy, because I think he was just thankful to be back in the league after the way the last year went for him. But, he was great. He was good in the locker room. He's great with media. I have nothing bad to say about Melo.
I did have a great interview with him.
He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal with media. I got him for a couple of different stories over the course of the season. He's fantastic.
I want to move on to overrated, underrated, but I literally just remembered that this show is presented by Manscaped.
Your balls will thank you.
Your balls will thank
Balls will thank you.
We actually have another read, too.
Well, let's do another
And then we
read
can
first.
close out.
And then,
Let's do it. Yeah, let's talk about MSU Denver online. We had the best teacher. I'm just calling him the best teacher at MSU Denver, Travis Heath, on the show
Dr.
earlier this summer.
Dr.
Come on
Travis,
now, man.
yeah.
Put some respect on his name.
Sorry, Dr. Travis Heath. Probably the best teacher.
Dr.
at
Professor.
MSU Denver. Probably the best. But if you guys are looking maybe for a way to pass the time this summer or even into the fall, check out MSU Denver online. They've got classes if you're a first-time freshman, if you're going back to school to finish your degree, maybe you're looking to get a master's or a second degree. MSU Denver online has tons of classes, tons of programs, awesome teachers. So check them out. They've got a full course listing online. And also, Colorado Raptors, we keep doing these DNVR watches every weekend.
Friends tuning in.
Watching some rugby Saturdays or Sundays. If you want to check it out, rugby is an awesome sport. Like, those guys are freaking units, absolute units. But we do those every weekend. Follow along with the hashtag DNVR watches on Twitter.
Underrated.
I will say rugby is an underrated sport.
facts.
I will say.
I didn't know how I felt about rugby when I used to watch my roommate play D3 club rugby, but I have to admit, the professional league, as it turns out,
Yeah.
whole nother level of quality.
Yeah.
Sean, we are about to play. It's a very complicated and
Yeah, it
layered
is.
game.
It is layered.
Okay.
Did you get the rules? We sent them over earlier.
Yeah, you need to pretty much have graduated from college to play this game. It's called Overrated, Underrated.
Boom. Look at that.
Is this game so overrated that it's become underrated?
Yeah, it's underrated.
No, he said it's underrated. He said it's
Oh,
underrated.
it is
Yeah.
underrated.
I do think this game is underrated.
Who was it? Was it Christian when we were like, we're going to play this game? And Christian goes, I hate this game. It's like, oh, that's sick. Should be a great segment.
Cool, dope.
Sean, growlers, overrated, underrated.
I think they're underrated.
Oh, not surprised. Not surprised.
Why? You have 6 seconds to make an argument. 10 seconds.
Especially right now with it, with you can't actually go to bars, but there are some bars that are still open, but you can get one filled up. I think it's solid.
I got a growler at the Big Lebowski bar in Portland once.
Yeah,
The Big
that a
Lebowski.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I found Portland
that
to be a
detail.
very growler-centric city, which is why
yeah.
we put growlers on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a growler in your house in Portland,
Yeah,
you're
why, I don't
disowned.
understand though. Like that's like when you're a kid and you get a 2-liter bottle of soda. It's like a downgrade. You want your own can. Don't you want your own can of beer? Portland? No.
Prefer a can, but
Okay,
a growler
okay.
will do.
Okay,
In
all right.
in these uncertain times. I don't know if you've heard that these times are uncertain from all the commercials.
These
Because
times
now, more than ever.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Together we'll get through this.
Sean, is Clyde Drexler overrated or underrated?
I think he's become a little bit underrated.
Oh,
There we go.
Just because he basically the only thing anybody talks about with him now is that Jordan kicked his ass in
Right.
the late '80s, early '90s. But he was really good.
There's like different levels here of like output and statistical like impact,
Sure.
but Harden kind of reminds me as a guy that like 20 years from now we might like talk about like, oh, you couldn't get past the Warriors. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit, dude. I mean, you were really
Right.
that's a really
Right,
good
it-
team.
Right. There's so many guys in that.
I think he
Jordan
just
era.
called Clyde Drexler James Harden. How do you
Yeah, that
feel
feels a
about
bit much.
That's an interesting
Maybe I've
comp.
overrated.
That's
it.
actually an
Who is the
interesting
Clyde
comp.
Drexler of today? Who is the Clyde Drexler? This is a tough one.
Is Harden that bad of a comp? Is that
Interesting.
bad?
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Why? Because I think that. Well, I guess you're right. Harden's not that exciting to watch. His highlights can be exciting.
Drexler, won one championship, correct?
With Houston, yeah.
Yeah, but like, are you talking? Their games had no similarity.
Scores.
Yeah, I
they
guess
were
I just
both
mean
scores.
in terms of like the way
But
we're
I-
gonna remember them for
Yeah,
not being the very best at a time when like the barriers between that were pretty great, you know.
Is it recency bias if I think Clyde or if James Harden is like sort of more iconic? Just like he's more
That's
of
true.
a thing. You know what I mean? Like he's more unique.
I don't know.
Well,
I
you
guess
can't really,
got the
you
glide
can't really
versus the
compare
beard.
that because there's so many more platforms for guys to have their, be distinctive with social media and with different brand
I don't even
stuff.
care about that. I'm just saying stylistically, James Harden is sort of like very unique. He plays a very unique style in ways that are equally as annoying as they
Yeah,
are
but
impressive.
yeah.
But
People
but
hate
still.
it. They hate his style.
Yeah, he plays. He is going to have a large role in this era of basketball, probably when we talk about it. Okay, let's move on to something with way less meat on the bone. Grunge music. Grunge music, overrated. Underrated.
Topical, very topical. This list.
I think I'm gonna go slightly over. I think it has a high ceiling, low floor.
Overrated.
High ceiling, low floor is a good way to describe it, though. I actually like that a lot.
I have no sense of how grunge music is even rated. Like, is it highly
Yes,
rated?
that's the thing. There's really
It's
no.
very highly rated. It's a whole era.
But it has basically no cultural greater relevance at this point.
I mean, it exists in a time capsule. I think.
I was really bummed out when Chris Novoselic. I don't know
Oh
if you
my
saw
God,
it.
we talked about this. Yeah.
That
We were
was-
laughing about it. Yeah, how he was praising the totalitarian militaristic response.
I saw-
and then going looking at the cheerleaders wearing
If
the
you guys
anarchy
haven't seen
symbols.
this, so
in
the basis for Nirvana,
Smells Like Teen Spirit
very,
video.
very impressed with Trump's handling of protesters.
Yeah, that was. I somehow don't think Kurt would have shared that.
You know what, though? Maybe he
Said-
would have. I mean, who knows? These
Yeah,
guys
we don't
maybe
know.
just
We
all
don't know.
grow
The,
up
the
and-
drummer
I-
from System of a Down did the same thing. Someone said, "Imagine being in System of a Down and misunderstanding System of a Down."
Well, did you see that tweet that went viral today, where some guy was tweeting at Tom Morello saying that he was a big fan of his music until he started talking about politics. Like, you know that he was Rage Against the Machine, right? Like,
And has like an honors grad in political science from Harvard. So.
well, yesterday, because I follow Tom Morello on Instagram, and yesterday he posted some post about the protest on Instagram, and some guy commented and saying, "Well, you're being hypocritical because your success is only because of your white privilege." And Tom Morello replies, "I'm not white."
Fact check season in Tom Morello land.
Nice.
Did you see? Did you guys see the tweet of like when the Chris Novoselic thing happened? Somebody had a tweet of like, "You couldn't have told me these would be their two reactions in 1992," and it was Chris Novoselic reaction to Trump and Axl Rose's reaction to Trump, because Axl Rose is like a big resistance guy now.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
Grunge is overrated because of, you're right, Chris Novoselic this week made it overrated. That's really unfortunate.
What's the last good grunge band? Like legit grunge
I mean,
band?
it's like trapped in an era.
It's
so
still it's Pearl Jam is probably the last good one.
I have a hot take. The best alt rock band of that era was the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh,
you know what? They're really good. I agree.
But
Really
that,
good.
that's not, that wasn't grunge. That
They've
was
become
They were from the same.
yeah, but they were like
alternative.
they were too wimpy to be grunge.
They're too
Wimpy.
Yeah,
Sure.
you're right.
Wow. All right, let's move on. A lot of time on that. A lot of time on grunge music. Sean, is Terry Stotts overrated or underrated?
I think he's underrated.
Underrated.
Wow. All right.
You look at his track record, guys get better every year. They overperform what their expectations were at the beginning of the season. Except, I mean, this year obviously they had injuries, but like nobody thought they were going to make the conference finals last year.
I didn't think they would.
The year that like LaMarcus Aldridge and Nicholas Batum and Robin Lopez all left, nobody even thought they were going to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. They're just every year they overperform what their expectations are. Young guys get better under him. He's kept Dame and CJ totally bought in, which is hard to do with stars a lot of the time. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NBA, and he doesn't really get talked about as such because he isn't a huge name like Greg Popovich or Doc Rivers or someone of that.
I don't know how much insight you might or might feel you have here, but does he? I'm sure he has the respect of that locker room and that organization. It seems.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think the reason that he's kept his job, because I know that ownership at various times has thought about going in a different direction until it was made clear to them that Dame would not be happy if they did that. Like Dame has had his back like every single time when they've called him in, because a couple of years ago when the Blazers, I think it was the 18-19, not the 18-19, the 17-18 season, because this is when Paul Allen was still alive. Like Dame met privately with Paul Allen and basically was saying like, "Hey, we need to make some changes," blah blah blah, and he like made it clear to Paul Allen. He made it clear to Paul Allen that Terry wasn't the problem, that he didn't want Terry gone. No. So he's been Dame's guy because they came in the same offseason. The 2012 was the year they drafted Dame and the year they hired Stotts. They've been together his entire career, so he's still his guy.
I just realized
also
something.
From the George Karl coaching tree, just want to throw that out there.
Oh, I just realized something.
I don't think those two are very simpatico these days.
Really? Oh well, that's unfortunate.
Kind of a trend. I just realized that we should not start the NBA season on Christmas. We should start it on January 1st, so we can just have a whole year talking about a season. We don't have to say the 17, 18.
Oh, yeah.
We
That
can
would
say
be
the
awesome.
18.
Oh, like
That would be
baseball
incredible.
does.
Yeah, like it's just the
that'd be nice.
2020 season. That's
The
it. We don't
NFL
have
is
to
the
go
worst one
2021.
with this. I still don't know when the Broncos won the Super Bowl because it's 98-99
I know,
is
I'm
when
really
they
bad
did it,
at
but
it.
it's the 97-98 seasons. It's very
I don't
annoying.
like
Well,
Very
right, but because doesn't the NFL do it where like the entire regular season is in the first calendar year and then the entire playoffs the second year?
No, I don't think the entire playoffs, but maybe. Either way, I know they always refer to it as the earliest of the 2 years. Like, oh, they won the 97 Super Bowl in 98. Like,
Okay, we sound like a bunch of idiots, so
We
I'm
do,
going to keep
we
it
do.
moving. Sean, big in Portland, are bicycles overrated or underrated?
I think bicycles are properly rated.
Properly rated. Wow.
where's the graphic, Kale? Come on, Kale.
Yeah,
God, I gotta make it.
You've got 10 seconds.
Oh, sweet Jeebus.
I agree with Sean. I agree with Sean.
Properly rated.
Yeah, I
You know
think
what? I think scooters have kind of taken up some of the market share of bicycles.
Scooters are overrated.
cooler. Oh, wow. Blasphemous. Blasphemous.
I'm not a scooter guy.
Unbelievable.
scooters aren't. First of all, Eric, you're talking to. This is a personal issue for Eric.
Yeah, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than basketball.
Eric has a personal scooter, Sean.
I bought my own personal electric scooter. It is my primary means of conveyance. I take it all over town.
I love that for you. That's great.
Thank you. People,
Have
people
you
tend to
ever
compliment
have
me.
you ever like rolled up on your scooter next to somebody that was biking? Have you ever done that?
No, maybe a
Because I
little.
think I did that the other day, and he shot me a super dirty look. He was
Bikers
like,
are very entitled lot. I want to talk about this. I'm going to use my
That's
platform.
a great point. You know what? Overrated.
Yeah.
Bicycles overrated. And I like
Listen,
riding bikes.
listen, bikers. I'm happy to recognize
no.
that I have to share the road with you, as long as you stop conveniently choosing when you are a vehicle or a pedestrian or whatever you please.
You're
I
the
can't-
oldest man on the show now. You just
Yeah,
became a
wow.
old man.
You know,
Wow.
a lot of cars, a
Wow.
lot of things to factor in. I don't know if I'm 6 inches from you. I can't see you. Give me a break.
Unbelievable.
Sorry, I just need to get that off my chest.
Does
Okay.
that feel better? That was embarrassing
No.
for you.
No, I probably just lost like 6 followers. Sean, is the nickname Rip City overrated or underrated?
I think it's also properly rated because it is recognized as one of the best nicknames.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone here agree? I know we all have
It's
our
a great-
bias.
it's a great
I love
nickname.
Rip City.
It's a
Yeah,
great
Rip City's
nickname.
I
awesome.
think it's awesome.
It bothers me that it's not based in anything, but
That's not true.
what is it based
Oh.
in?
Their original TV announcer, Bill Shawnley, used to say Rip City because it was the sound of the ball ripping through the net.
Yeah. Did you just think they made it up out of thin air? Or
No,
something?
that's
I did.
That's
I honestly did.
essentially
Yeah,
what
I
he
did.
did. I mean, I don't know if you heard that
well,
story.
right, but it comes from
Ripping up the nets. Have you ever heard of that expression?
well, but it comes from like their original TV announcer's signature call. Like that's
yeah.
you
So
can't
we
say
should
that's
be the splendid Serbian hooker city or whatever.
I think
sure. Why
Portland,
not? Is that going to fit on one of the City Edition jerseys?
Yes.
Portland nails the branding stuff, man. I love
That's the
their
Yes.
thing
jerseys.
about the Blazers. I think that's the thing that they have never had a bad jersey in the history of their franchise.
Yeah, they do have nice
That's
jerseys.
probably true. That's probably good. Is that
Okay,
it?
I got one more. One final
more.
one.
Big one.
We'll bring it all the way back around to alcohol. Sean, craft beer, overrated or underrated?
What kind of craft beer are we talking?
Oh my God.
All right, Sean. All right, well, that's overrated and underrated. I hope everyone had fun,
There was only one wrong answer, and you got it.
and that was it.
Because I'm not an IPA guy, but like
There you go.
All right, that's an answer.
That is an answer. We have somebody for steps, the guys. It's a very special guest, though. Can I tell you?
Please.
Please tell us.
And you have to.
Somebody
Yeah.
very near and dear to my heart.
Your wife?
No, well,
kids?
kind of.
Good guess, though, right?
Is it a photo of yourself?
One of my closest friends in all of the world. Go back way long time. It's my
Oh, boy.
homie Dave Rashan. Welcome him on, Dave.
Hey, what's going on,
Hey,
fellas?
what's going on, guys?
Dave, what's
ya?
up,
What's
man?
up, Dave?
Where you guys have like a bunch of inside jokes you can just tell each other?
Probably.
Not really. We
Okay.
just, his dad had a high voice, and so we both like mimicked it growing up, and then now we both ended up with the same
That's
high
great.
voice.
Me and Dave do have like a uncomfortable amount of the same mannerisms and like
Yeah, I love
vocal tics and everything. So
Yeah.
As someone who knows Adam's dad, I confirm.
yeah.
Where are you joining us from tonight, Dave?
I'm in Austin,
Oh.
Texas. Yep. We had a watch party down here right before it was the Milwaukee game, so right before the Dallas game, I think. And yeah, I was
Is that
like,
a ball? Okay.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that a ball is popping shirt? I'm sorry, I was
Oh
distracted.
yeah.
Oh, baby.
I
The
got-
ball is popping.
I think I got them all. I
Not
don't
bad.
Very
have.
supportive friend.
Yeah, these shirts are the best. I mean, they legit make your shoulders look like 2 inches wider. So
Yeah, that's why I like them.
Yeah, there's our promo reel right there. These shirts are the best.
Strong
Bigger
substitute
shoulders,
for
buy our
lifting.
shirts.
yeah, they hide your man boobs pretty well. They're good. They're real good.
Could do a little better though for me, I have to say.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we did a watch party down here, and I met 5 or 6 other great dudes, and we were all pumped to do some more watch parties, and then COVID-19 kicked in.
Yeah.
But
Sick.
yeah, a lot of fans down here.
Is there?
I know you have some old school takes. What's your take on Clyde Drexler?
He's probably underrated. Yeah, the Jordan documentary kind of tore him up, but I feel like he was kind of a one-trick pony, like one dribble, slash to the rim, dunk, or he had
Yeah.
an ugly jumper. I mean, that form was ugly as hell.
He kind of has a boring game, I think, for somebody that has
Yeah.
like good highlights. You know.
Yeah.
When you watch him, do you feel like you're watching James Harden? Just out of
No, it's
curiosity.
no. It's
Exactly, that's
completely
why I said it's not a
different.
good comp. I think he's almost
No.
DeMar DeRozan if DeRozan was like 10
That's a
better.
good.
Yeah.
That is a good.
That's
That
much
is a good
better.
one.
But
Yeah.
he's better than DeRozan. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
give it DeRozan was just better.
He's DeRozest.
But
He
the
was
same
pretty
thing where you're just
efficient.
kind of like, oh, another little mid-range pull, cool.
He was efficient.
away,
Like
all right.
it was like one dribble, two dribbles. The DeRozan dribbles like 20 times.
Back then, that's all you needed, though.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it was
true.
pretty good.
Like I don't think Drexler would be well liked by like analytics people today because he
Yeah.
like that just based on what his game was. But at the time, that was all you needed.
He
Yeah.
also rocked bald. Like, not the shave. Like, he had, like, you could see the outline of the bald head on him, which is just not, it's not very common anymore.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah, I
just
wonder
can't
why.
do that in the days
Innovator.
or times that we're in.
One thing I read when the Jordan doc was going on is people were saying that Jordan was the first guy to popularize the shaved head, which I didn't really, I don't know how I didn't realize that.
Maybe he was.
That seems like an after the fact Jordan.
Yeah, that can't
fact,
No,
but-
well, first of all, everything Jordan did, everybody wanted to copy, no matter what it was.
That
So
I
I could see him being like, you know what, shaved head, and people are like, oh, that's not just my grandpa. Like, okay, that's a cool look, too.
That's one thing I wish LeBron had taken from Jordan.
Yeah.
Just let it go, dog.
You know, at this point, I almost respect LeBron's commitment to hanging on to it. Like at a certain point, he was just like, you know what? Everybody's telling me I need to come home. Nope, not gonna do it.
Yo, I
I'm
have
gonna
to
go
say,
the other direction. I'm gonna glue shit to my head.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I mean, he spends. Remember that report that LeBron spends like $1.5 million a year on his body, just in terms of like massage therapy and stuff. I wonder how much of that goes to the hair plugs.
It's a good joke, and I hate it.
You know what?
Okay.
I actually one quick thing. I started shaving my head because I'm a balding American man, and so and it doesn't. I thought it'd make me so that I like could leave my hair alone, not have to worry about it. That you have to deal with it so much more. You have to shave it every GD day. Your hair becomes like so much more of an issue when you're bald. So
What do you guys think? Am I there yet, or do I need to think
I don't know,
about
man.
it?
I'm probably gonna shave that down at least.
First of all, we're clearly the wrong people to ask.
You're
Yeah.
asking us for cool advice, you're in trouble. Sean.
Dave, are you familiar with the steps, the reason you've joined the program this evening?
Yeah, I hope you guys are going to recycle questions like always. I've been listening.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
Someone's been paying attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, we,
getting lit up by your guests. Hate to see it.
yeah. I don't hate to see it. We
Dave
deserve it.
used to be a basketball almanac, an NBA almanac, so he was a much bigger NBA fan back in the day. So
All
we'll
right.
see. He should have
Well,
some.
this is NBA edition, Dave, and you got Sean, a Bleacher Report, with you to help. So
Yeah, Sean, great.
Good.
here we go. The music sets in. Are we ready, producer Kale? Question number 1. Which two All-Stars joined the Los Angeles Clippers last summer?
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Tough stuff. We move on to question 2.
I have a prediction that Dave's gonna breeze through these.
That's the guy who wrote the question, so that's a strong prediction.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Which NBA player is nicknamed The Process?
Joel Embiid. Old Shirley Temple, right? Is that his drink of
His
choice?
nickname is Do a 180.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Do it 180. Both answers are accepted by our judges. That's correct.
Yes, let's go.
We move on to question 3. I'm not even going to feign suspense here. I don't think it's going to factor in. Which Western Conference team has made the playoffs for 22 straight seasons?
That's the Spurs, right, Sean? Spurs.
All right, I'll confirm for Sean. That's correct.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean just kind of gave like a quick half nod.
He's like, why are you bothering me?
Yeah. Sorry about that, Sean.
Which Portland Trailblazers exec shares a first name with the drummer from the band Rush?
Good thing you're here, Sean. I don't know.
Sean, this is made
Sean
for Sean.
may or may not have a photo of him above his head right now.
Sean, you can just answer for
Yeah,
it,
you
by
can
the
just
way.
help him, Sean.
Neil O'Shea.
That is correct.
Thanks, Sean.
I thought we had a rule where the contestant had to actually have the answer come out of their mouth.
Yeah, but we pretty clearly wrote that question for Sean. I thought he'd get a little more excited, though.
He did not get excited at all. I made it just for him. I was, oh well. That was an alley-oop, and he just laid it in.
Sticking
you
with this
applied the line.
shoehorned-in theme here, which Denver Nuggets player hails from the same Canadian province as the band Rush?
You probably have one Canadian, Jamal Murray, right? Anyone else, Sean? Yeah, Jamal Murray.
That is correct.
You have won a prize.
You have won a prize.
Hooray.
Producer Kale, can we show him what those prizes are? I know it's always.
Isn't that in Jamal's Twitter bio from the same Canadian province?
I would be really impressed if it was. There's no way it is, but but
Well, listen, Dave. You can choose from a shirt, a hat, a water bottle.
We keep going because he.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to him when the steps are done. But the steps are not. We continue on to question number 6. Who is the silhouette in the NBA logo?
Oh wow!
Mikan? Is it maybe Mikan?
You might want to consult your.
I know this.
Well, you're on my team, Sean. This isn't. You know it means we know it.
So do I just tell you who it is? Or?
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh,
Jerry
Jerry
West.
West.
Final say. He can tell you if he thinks you're wrong.
Jerry West.
I'm gonna disagree and go on Jerry West.
It's happened before. Don't play with it. It's a theme on this show.
Yeah, you would have been on your own with that one.
I didn't know that. I learned something.
Okay, hang on. I gotta find question 7. All right, I found it. We'll do it live. Question 7. Which of these players has never been named to an All-Star team? Ben Simmons, Mike Conley, and Klay Thompson.
It's Conley, right? Yeah, Mike Conley.
They locked their answer in. We confer with the judges. That's correct.
Breezing through.
That was a tough one.
Cool,
We
like
move on
a
now
cucumber
to-
over here.
To question 8.
Very excited for question 8.
Which Trailblazers player Instagrammed a picture of himself lying on a training table with the caption, "Whatever it freaking takes," during the Western Conference semifinals last year?
Great question, Win.
That's gotta be.
Question.
That's gotta be Ennis Canner, right? He's the only guy who do something like that.
He's the only guy.
Ennis went to great lengths to make sure everybody knew how much pain he was in and how hard he was working to get
He
back.
was like laying flat like this. Oh my god, it was so
Doing it for the gram for sure.
Oh, I'm glad that was in there. All right.
The question was great.
Moving on to question 9. Which player is leading the Los Angeles Lakers in points per game this season? Hint, it's not Danny Green.
Kyle Kuzma, right?
You would think.
With the way he's talked about.
Yeah, the way he's talking about him or Caruso. Man, this is a toughie.
This is
Tough
tough.
one.
What's your instinct, Sean?
My instinct is LeBron, but maybe it's a trick question and it's Davis. I don't know.
Do one of those hints, Adam, that you always give.
I honestly don't know the answer to this one.
Where he
so,
says the name.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Let's play it safe. Let's just go LeBron. See where that goes.
Sean, I believe this is my choice.
Yeah, you're a little cavalier.
Okay, but
You're a cavalier with your man's
I'm making
future.
my official recommendation. You can take it or leave it, but I'm making my recommendation.
We're gonna go with LeBron because I want it, not because
Okay. Well, listen, it doesn't matter whose choice it is. You're both wrong. We'll see you later. Thanks for playing. A lot of fun. The answer is Alex Caruso. No, it's Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis leads the Lakers in points per game.
Oh, that's crushing for me. I was really
Wow.
rooting for him.
Wow.
I thought
I
he was
thought
a
Dave
friend
was
of
going
yours,
to go
Adam.
all the way. Yeah. Gotta
I
get
thought it was
some new
KCP,
friends.
actually.
Sean's official recommendation falls short.
love
But
it.
I'll tell you what, Sean. I think you more than stepped up to the plate. I'd even, dare I say, knocked it out of the park on tonight's show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, man.
Yeah, this is great, guys. Thanks for having
Appreciate
me
the insight. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
I want to come to Portland again, but I don't want to roll the dice. I've seen the best weather of all time, and I know that the next time I go, it'll be
Yeah, for
horrible.
sure.
You
So
just got to go through.
Well, who knows when we're going to be able to go anywhere.
That's a great point,
It's a very
Sean.
good point.
Thanks to Dave for hanging
Share
out and
growler.
playing the steps. Thanks to the rest of you for hanging out with us, watching, commenting. Let's do it again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock
Calvin Booth.
with special guest Calvin Booth. Special guest. No
And
offense,
tomorrow,
Sean.
don't forget also.
I don't know
is-
if he can follow up Sean though. I don't know.
That's true.
That's
And
true.
MLB draft show tomorrow also. Big deal.
5 o'clock.
Starting at 5
MLB
o'clock.
draft.
5 o'clock on
Lots
YouTube.
of cool guests there. I think Bud Black's going to be on.
Bud Black,
I don't
yeah,
know
we
who
have
else. They got
legit
an all-star
guests.
cast of guests on. It's going to be great.
Very
We'll
legit
talk to you.
guests.
We'll hang out with you tomorrow. Take it easy. Be well, friends.
great. Poor Dave.
Poor Dave.